the birth of the Roman Empire, a day that changed history. Have you ever stopped to think about how one single day, over 2,000 years ago, could change everything? Picture this. It's January 16, 27 BC, and the streets of ancient Rome are alive with energy. Merchants are shouting their wares, soldiers are patrolling the city, and the grand marble Senate building looms over it all. On this day, something extraordinary is about to happen. Gaius Julius Caesar Octavian, Julius Caesar's heir, is granted a title that will transform Rome forever. When he becomes Augustus, the Roman Republic gives way to the Roman Empire, paving the way for centuries of progress, power, and innovation. Rome wasn't always a sprawling metropolis. Long ago, it began as a small settlement near the Tiber River. Over time, it grew into the political and cultural capital of the Mediterranean world. Generations of Romans truly believed they lived in a proper republic, where power was balanced among senators, consuls, and the people. But as the city expanded, it got tangled in its own complexity. Civil wars, corrupt officials, and fragile alliances sapped the republic's stability, leaving many citizens exhausted and longing for a new sense of order. Stepping into this chaotic stage is a young man named Gaius Octavius, later known to us as Octavian. Adopted by his great-uncle Julius Caesar himself, he was raised to carry on Caesar's ambitions. Yet few guessed the enormous impact he would have. Sometimes I wonder, what if Julius Caesar hadn't picked him as his heir? Would we have an empire shaped by someone else, or no empire at all? Octavian was just a teenager when he caught Caesar's attention, and historians say it was his calm determination that made him stand out. He might have seemed too young or inexperienced, but he had a silent resolve that would soon carry him all the way to the top. Things took a dramatic turn when Julius Caesar was assassinated on the Ides of March in 44 BC. Suddenly, there was a mad scramble for power, and the Roman world teetered on the brink of chaos. Octavian, only 18 at the time, jumped into the fray, raising armies, building alliances, and challenging icons like Mark Antony. People thought he was too green to survive, let alone triumph. But in the end, he defeated Antony in one of the ancient world's most famous showdowns, the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. From that point on, Octavian held Rome in the palm of his hand. Despite these victories, Octavian played a clever game with the Senate. He would pretend to give back his extraordinary powers, acting like a humble servant of Rome. But underneath that polite facade, he was paving the way for a new form of government, one that looked like the old republic, but centered around a single ruler. So on that fateful day in January 27 BC, they named him Augustus, meaning something close to the revered one. Imagine the tension and excitement that morning. Senators in spotless togas assembled in the Curia Julia, uncertain what Octavian would do next. Outside, crowds traded rumors about a restoration of the Republic. Then the Senate officially addressed him as Augustus, and that announcement sent ripples through Rome. You might wonder what's so special about the word Augustus. It comes from the Latin verb augere, meaning to increase or to honor. So just by calling him Augustus, people placed him on a higher plane, almost divine, but still not outright claiming to be a king. That subtle line made all the difference. Temples praised him, coins showcased his image, and writers like Virgil hinted at his special, almost fated role in Roman history. Rome still called itself a republic, but the real power now rested with Augustus. Once he wore that new title, Augustus wasted no time reorganizing just about every aspect of Roman life. He tightened control over far-reaching provinces and stationed loyal governors to oversee them. The frontiers of Rome, spanning from Britannia in the northwest to Egypt in the southeast, started forming something like a unified system for the first time. Rome's famed roads strengthened trade and communication, and with stability on the rise, people could actually enjoy a period of peace and prosperity. In this peaceful environment, cities thrived and cultures mingled. Romans expanded and improved aqueducts, built monumental public structures, and turned the capital into the marvel of the known world. Interestingly, Rome now felt more unified than ever. Different regions might have spoken their own languages, but Roman law, architecture, and roads formed a shared civic identity. While Augustus restructured the state, he also kept a close eye on the moral fabric of Roman society. He introduced marriage laws to encourage large, stable families, and he had strict rules against adultery. Ironically, he faced his own family scandals, including the banishment of his daughter Julia for not living up to these high moral standards. Another thing Augustus understood was how to communicate a grand vision through art. Poet Virgil wrote the epic Aeneid, partly to celebrate Rome's destiny and Augustus's role in it. Horace, Ovid, and other artists found patronage under this new regime. Augustus also encouraged the building of majestic structures like the Ara Pacis, an altar celebrating the peace he claimed to bring. These projects weren't just about vanity. Yet, the Senate didn't lose all power on paper. Augustus let them continue passing decrees and seemed to respect their traditions. But he personally controlled the most strategic provinces, where the legions were stationed, and looked after the soldiers by offering fair payments and retirement perks. This arrangement ensured that soldiers and officers trusted him personally. As a result, the substance of power shifted significantly into the hands of the emperor, even if Rome kept some old republican rituals alive. So why does this moment, even after 2,000 years, still matter to us? Well, what Augustus did on January 16, 27 BC laid a blueprint for countless future governments, blending centralized power with a veneer of public representation. By knitting together various peoples, cultures, and lands under a single system, Augustus set examples in governance, legal structure, infrastructure, and even cultural exchange that have influenced societies well beyond the lifespan of the Roman Empire. When you consider modern cities, road networks, or principles of law and citizenship, you can still spot traces of Rome's approach. The idea of connecting distant regions under a unified administration wasn't invented by Augustus, but he perfected it in a way that endures. Even the notion of balancing a ruler's authority with a council has echoes in modern constitutions and parliaments. Augustus ultimately ruled for an impressive 41 years. Toward the end of his life, he prepared a record of his achievements, known as the Res Gestae Divi Augusti, the deeds of the divine Augustus, as if anticipating how future generations might measure him. He must have known that upon his death, Rome would face a new crisis: how to choose its next leader when so much power was concentrated in one person. From Tiberius onward, each successor inherited not just an empire, but the expectations Augustus created, a near-mythic standard that elevated the emperor almost to divine status. His funeral in AD 14 was a grand state event. People lining the streets had never seen Rome without him in charge, and it must have felt like the end of an era. But his empire remained, vast and complex, carrying on the legacy he left behind. We've come a long way in this tale, from the humble beginnings of a bright young man named Octavian to the moment he was hailed as Augustus, and the lasting impact of that change. January 16, 27 BC isn't just a date on a dusty historical record. It marks the instant when a centuries-old republic gave way to a booming empire, profoundly altering politics, society, culture, and the course of Western history. The world that Augustus built influenced legal systems and city planning, and gave us some of the earliest concepts of how to organize large territories under one banner. His story lives on in the roads we drive on, the art we admire, and the legal frameworks that structure our daily lives. If this journey into ancient Rome has sparked your curiosity to learn more, make sure to check the links in the description and in the first pinned comment. You'll find books that dive deeper into the Augustan age and the birth of the Roman Empire. These resources can help you keep exploring how one historic moment managed to shape so much of human civilization. So go ahead and click those links, because the story of Augustus and Rome is far from over.